Allow me to introduce myself. Gus Polinski, Polka King of the Midwest. The Kenosha Kickers. No? That's okay. I thought you might have recognized. Anyways, I had a few hits a few years ago. That's why just polka, 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 polka. No? Twin Lakes Polka, Damavuji Polka, a.k.a. Kiss Me Polka, Polka Twist.
Well, these are songs.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? It's Benny. It's the day we've all been waiting for. The White House just straight up dropped the documents on Ilhan Omar that she married her brother and must be deported because, well, when you commit immigration fraud, you get denaturalized and deported. Tom Homan has said that the federal government is now investigating, and the documents are pretty brutal, ladies and gentlemen. The White House linked to a brand new investigation in the Free Beacon. Yes, Ilhan Omar married her brother. Let's go ahead and check it out. Yes, Ilhan Omar married her brother. We've read through this entire expose and what it links to, using people who know Ilhan Omar's family, know all the family connections, understand sort of the intertribal dynamics here, and understand exactly what Ilhan Omar was doing when she left her first husband in order to marry Ahmed Nur Said Elmi. This individual is Ilhan Omar's brother, according to DNA evidence as well, is effectively commit immigration fraud in order to get him into America. This is something that is pretty demonstrable. Multiple major reports here outlining it, and also multiple major news lines, left, right, and center, saying that when they investigated this, according to sources that are close to her campaign, according to the actual official documentation here from the state of Minnesota, very curious they were married in a Christian marriage. Isn't that fascinating? For these extremely religious Muslims, they're married in a Christian marriage. Why would that be? Oh, and by the way, while she was married to her brother, she had a child with her first husband because they never stopped being married. You understand this. So the White House here, this is the rapid response of 47 with 1.3 million followers, is out posting, listen, yes, Ilhan Omar married her brother, and hard tag for Ilhan Omar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what does this lead to? Well, it also leads to, let's just say, full-scale immigration and denaturalization investigations. This is what Tom Homan says it's going to lead to. Here we go.
The border czar, Tom Homan, joins us tonight to talk about Minnesota as well as a number of other issues. And, sir, it's good to have you back on the show. Trump mentioning the Daily Mail reporting from 2020 that Ilhan Omar married her brother to get into the country. This was last week. Take a listen.
Look at their nation. Look how bad their nation is. It's not even a nation. It's just people walking around killing each other. They've taken billions and billions of dollars. They have a representative, Ilhan Omar, who they say married her brother. That's a fraud.
Calls that a fraud. It's a story that has never been successfully refuted, even though it's now a 5-year-old story. That's clearly a deportable offense. Is there an investigation into that?
You know, I just got advised by a fraud investigator the other day on that. I asked the question, who reviewed the file and says, there was immigration fraud involved. The statute of limitation became an issue in the last 4 years when this was first brought up. Who was president? Who ran DOJ? So pulling the records now, pulling the files, and we're looking at, but this fraud investigator, who I know personally, one of the best fraud investigators in HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, said there's no doubt he reviewed the file. So I'm running that down this week, matter of fact, and we'll see.
It's tremendous that, and according to the Secretary, Kristi Noem of DHS, she said nearly 50% of the visas are fraudulent in this community. That would mean that half the Somali refugees are here in some way illegally. What's going to happen? Is something actually going to happen? Are there going to be people stripped of their visas, deported? Are we going to see that?
Absolutely. Those days are over. Thank God President Trump's in the White House. We're going to look at all of them. We're going to look at those here illegally. of course, we're going to look at those here under a visa or some sort of, immigration process that are criminals. We're going to look at the national security threats. But those who came through a process that weren't properly vetted, who didn't provide documentation, who slipped through the Biden's weak processes on, giving visas and temporary, whether student visas or visitors visas or whatever. We're going the whole gamut. President Trump has instructed us go down.
If Tom Homan needs any help or extra evidence, you can see here the Biden administration really didn't want anybody to know that DNA test results found 99.9999998% chance that Omar and her second husband, Ahmed Elmi, now her ex-husband, are siblings. FBI dodged Ilhan Omar bro wed probe. Too bad. But maybe the Trump administration could take this seriously and get it done. This is what we asked member of Congress, Greg Stwie, this morning, and he says, yeah, it's time to arrest, deport, and denaturalize. That's what you do when you commit immigration fraud.
Congressman, this is a bombshell. White House.
Yeah.
I'm not like I guess the basics of the story. This report goes well into detail. The basics of the story, provided with documentation here, now posted by the White House, seems certainly worthy of a full-scale investigation. Do you hope that happens?
Yeah, I hope that happens. And the great thing about immigration fraud is if this is all true, which it clearly is, I mean, this has been something that's been rumored for years, and we finally have an administration that's investigating immigration fraud. And how poetic will it be if Ilhan Omar actually defrauded the United States in her way to become a citizen? And as serving as a member of Congress, the great part of this from the administration standpoint is if she committed immigration fraud, they can deport her. So yes, there are criminal penalties for defrauding the United States and participating in immigration fraud. But the great part of that is if she committed fraud to get into the country, then she's not legally able to be in the country, and the United States of America can quickly deport her back to Somalia. And then obviously that seat will be vacant. But that's the great part about this is the administration, once they have found that she did in fact commit immigration fraud, they can arrest her and have her deported because she is not legally in the country.
What would that look like? Would it effectively look like a DNA test? I guess you'd have to have something, they have plenty of corroborating evidence that comes through the marriage document and marriage certificate. Yeah. And then also Somali community members saying this is obviously the same family.
I mean, I don't even think you if you have the marriage licenses and you can prove that that's her brother, I don't even think you need DNA tests. If the paper, you have to file a marriage license. Obviously, they can track down who this person is and who she is and how they came into the country. I think it would actually be pretty easy to prove that they committed fraud to get into the country, and then therefore she is not legally here in our country, and therefore she can be deported immediately. And I would imagine Homan, because he has stated that they're going to investigate this, I would imagine this is the top of his pile of immigration fraud cases.
I mean, you are on the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. This is a very important committee, and this is obviously a committee that a lot of people want to be on because you're able to see and assess the threats to America. You served in the military, and so this is something that's near and dear to you, to protection of the homeland. The Somali fraud allegedly funded Muslim terrorism, the same kind of Muslim terrorism that we're seeing on the streets of Washington, D.C., and the killing of our National Guardsmen. What needs to be done here with the Afghan refugees that were brought in here wholesale by Joe Biden? What needs to be done with the Somali fraudsters who are funding al-Shabaab with our tax dollars?
Well, we know that those Afghan refugees were not vetted. They should be fully vetted by this current administration, and I'm sure they're working on doing that. They have so many things that they're working on that they need more ICE agents and they need more Border Patrol agents to go through all of the litany of the open border policies of Joe Biden over the last 4 years and the 12 million illegals that are in our country. Yesterday in the testimony, there's still 100 something or several hundred known terrorists that the Biden administration let into our country that they're trying to search and get out. But that is one piece. And then the fraud should also be investigated from the DOJ. That's criminal penalties. That's stealing taxpayer dollars when you don't have a right to be able to get those. And I believe not only the people that defrauded the United States out of those taxpayer dollars on those government programs should be held criminally liable. I think the leaders of that state, like Waltz, who knew or should have known that this was going on, should be held accountable as well.
Okay, so how does that work? So yeah, Tim Waltz, like, would this be a DOJ thing?
Well, it would be like a conspiracy case. It would be like you aided and abetted criminal behavior. I mean, there's all sorts of different statutes you could probably tie in. If he knew or should have known that fraudulent activity was going on in his state, or even took steps to allow it to occur, that's aiding and abetting criminal behavior. That's obstruction. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things, statutes that they could lop in for that.